Adaptive soundtracks. You've probably heard it before. Even if you don't know what it is, you've probably experienced it in one of the many video games that you play. To grossly oversimplify the concept, it's basically when the music reacts to what's happening in the game. Like if you go from exploring to battling, the music kind of, cross-fades very smoothly between them without you really realizing. Or when the tension rises and, it starts adding a few more instruments to the same song. Game Maker's Toolkit has a really great video on the subject, so if you want to know more, you should probably check that out. But sadly that video came out in 2014, whereas the game I'm going to be talking about today came out in 2018 and 2019 as for the expansion. Yes, I'm talking about it. I'm gonna talk about it again. It's Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. It is my video and you can't tell me to stop. You remember when Insomniac's Spider-Man came out for all the 8th-gen consoles, and what the game critics said the game feels like?
Coupled with gameplay that made me feel like Spider-Man nearly every step of the way. Spider-Man's
What? Well, Monster Hunter World's soundtrack makes you feel like you're hunting a big monster. Like, just imagine for a second. Let me take you on a journey here. You're a lone wanderer in a menacing jungle. There are ferocious beasts around every corner. Searching for the great monster, you make your way through the jungle's many twists and turns. Then suddenly, you spot the great monster. Your life has led up to this point. You ready your sword, you sharpen it, you pray to the gods, and you do like a little air cross. And then you go for it! And you go BAM! BAM! POW! You're slapping this motherfucker's ass downtown like he won't know what hit him. The monster's like a pitcher, he's going for a curveball, but you swing your big ass great sword, you're knocking that thing out of the park. You're taking him with you, like the force of your swing is knocking him out of this hemisphere. Like this soundtrack is just emphasizing just how much you're hunting this monster. I feel like I left out a few steps in my narrative there, but essentially, let's take the ancient forest as an example. For most of the game, when you are out on an expedition, maybe you're just exploring, maybe you're picking flowers or you're catching butterflies. Like there's no music playing in the background, it's only when you actually interact with any of the bigger monsters that the music starts playing. At first maybe you'll just encounter a few lizards, they won't do you much harm, but they're still hostile. So the song starts building up. It teases like to a bigger threat to come, but for now it only stays low. It only uses a few instruments to make its point. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this greater monster comes, like it's roaring, and it is just gonna tear you apart. So, the song naturally adds to it, like the tempo picks up, the drums and percussions, the blow instruments are all going wild like, whoo damn! You're beating this monster to a pulp or getting your ass kicked, but anyway, the monster starts running away. Maybe it's going for a burger, maybe it's going for a nap, you don't know, but you're chasing it, and that's when the chase version of the same theme starts playing. And yes, all the themes are like this. Every locale has its own themes with its different stages. And those monsters that have their own theme songs, they have both the chase version and the battle version. Like, it is just insane. The soundtrack refuses to take you out of the hunt, like the feeling, for even a moment. And that's saying something, because these hunts, they can last up to like 30 minutes on average. Like, let me give you some Wildspire Waste, or Rotten Vale, or Bagel. All this was just to introduce you to some of my favorite aspects of this soundtrack, but I really wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Monster Hunter World Iceborne brought with it a whole truckload of new content. As soon as I started thinking I was done with this game, they're just throwing this at me. With this expansion, they gave us new monsters, new locales, new weapons, armors, gear, everything. They just increased the game by tenfold. But there is one thing that's been overlooked by the entire gaming community, and that is the damn good soundtrack. Everything I loved about the first game soundtrack, or well, the base game, they just doubled down on it. It is so good, like every single instrument has been just nailed. Except for one song, but we'll talk about that later. There are so many monsters now with their own themes, and they are all magnificent. I can't stress enough how much I love this soundtrack. And just to spitball a few, we'll start with Nargacuga's theme. And the Brachydios theme is just mind-blowing. And I can't talk about this soundtrack if I don't talk about the Guiding Land, so if you haven't gotten there, you should probably just get the hell out. This song right here is why I love the soundtrack so much. You hear a little bit of a Rotten Vale in there? Yeah, that's right. They've done so many good things with this soundtrack, like just so many songs. I'll list my favorites in the description for you to check out. And yet, we still haven't talked about the biggest addition to the Monster Hunter World Iceborne soundtrack. And that's of course, the mount themes. Now the mount themes are the songs that play whenever you ride a monster, like you're hacking at their back, you know, you're taking damage off and then eventually knocking them over. I've already bombarded you with the fact that I like this soundtrack, but one of the reasons why is because every song comes with its unique and subtle layers that really sets the composition apart. On one hand, you have these pieces that are wonderfully orchestrated, but these composers, like many other Japanese composers, go a step further and adds those sounds that can't really be replicated by real instruments. It just shows a level of ingenuity and creativity that I often find lacking in many epic scores. Take the forgettable music of the Marvel franchise. When I started Iceborne, I wasn't prepared for the addition of these mount themes. Basically, it's the same battle song, but with more percussions added. It's made to pump you up and give you that sense of urgency. At first, I was skeptical. I thought that these instrumentals would get in the way of these meticulously crafted pieces. I definitely have some that I prefer more than others, but I am pleasantly surprised by how well it just fits the original intention. Last side note before I actually get to it, I recommend listening to the soundtrack with some sort of headphones or in a quiet room, as there are many great sounds you usually don't pick up on when you play the game or while you're listening to it casually. Now that all that's out of the way, I'll start by bringing up the Wildspire Waste theme, then I'll transition into the version with the added percussions, and I'll repeat this process for the following. It's nothing big, but it really sets the tempo and it is only really meant to be played for that short time you're riding the monster. So now we'll be moving on to the Rotten Vale theme, which is one of my favorites of the whole soundtrack. I would love to cover the entire song because it is just fantastic, but for obvious reasons I won't, and I will move on to the next song. Now I gotta say, I love these claps. They add so much character to a song that to me is just pretty lukewarm, and it actually works a lot better in the game when you're playing, rather than me just playing it for you. Okay, I've been rambling enough. Now we're finally getting to the point. This next one is the reason I made this whole video. This next mount theme is just one of my favorite video game songs of all time, which saddens me because you only hear it for those few seconds that you're riding the monster. So without any further ado, here is the Zinogre mount theme and, well, normal theme. I'd really like to talk about all of my favorite songs, like individually, how all the instruments and all the sounds play into each other, and how the sound quality just brings this soundtrack to life in a way I haven't heard in a long while in a video game soundtrack. But I can't, so this is the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed. I will let this song fade itself out.